Good morning, children. Today in English in class 11, we'll take up this lesson, Discovering Tut, the saga continues. This is the story. Actually, the story deals with the mysteries and various theories regarding the life and death of this youngest ruler of ancient Egypt, who was Tutankhamun. The tomb was discovered in 1922 by the famous archaeologist. He was a British archaeologist, Howard Carter, and since then his mummy has been subjected to an X-ray and later a CT scan. These investigations have answered us a lot of questions and offered new clues on his life and death. So we have the characters. One is King Tut, who died as a teenager, extremely young. So this was one. Then Howard Carter, the British archaeologist who discovered in 1922 after years of search. Then we have Zahi Hawass, who was the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. He was the one who scanned the king's mummy for an accurate forensic reconstruction. So we take up the lesson that he was just a teenager when he died. That is, we're talking about King Tut, that he was a teenager when he died. The last heir of a powerful family that had ruled Egypt and its empire for centuries. So King Tut belonged to a very powerful dynasty, and for centuries the dynasty had ruled. He happened to be the last of that dynasty. He was laid to rest. That means that he, after his death, he was placed in his coffin. So he was laid to rest, laden with gold. Laden means fully loaded. That means naturally befitting the status of a king. He was a king and the dynasty was extremely wealthy. So he was fully adorned and loaded with gold and eventually forgotten. And finally, people forgot about him. Since the discovery of his tomb in 1922, now years went by, thousands of years went by, and people forgot all about him. But in 1922, there was a breakthrough. That is when Howard Carter discovered the tomb. The modern world has speculated. Speculated, that means to form a theory or an opinion without firm evidence about what happened to him. That meant, because at that time medical science had not advanced so much, so there was no way of identifying what could have been the cause of his death. So there were a lot of speculations, there was a lot of mystery regarding his death, that what could have been the reason. He was just a teenager in his late teens when he died, with murder being the most extreme possibility. So the people had different opinions about his end, about his death, and some even considered the fact that probably he was murdered. Now, leaving his tomb for the first time, that is, he was being brought out for a CT scan in almost 80 years. Tut has undergone a CT scan that offers new clues. Clues, that means it gives us hints about his life and death, and provides precise data for an accurate forensic reconstruction of the boyish pharaoh. So, the CT scan is naturally a modern gadget that helps us, and for an accurate forensic reconstruction. Forensic reconstruction would mean that with the use of scientific methods, it is a way or means of investigation when a crime takes place, of the boyish pharaoh. That is, he was a young boy, he was a teenager when he died. Pharaoh is the Egyptian ruler, the Egyptian king. So there was, in 1922, this tomb was discovered of King Tut, and then there were 3 times actually his mummy was scrutinized. An angry wind stirred up ghostly dust devils as King Tut was taken from his resting place in the ancient Egyptian cemetery known as the Valley of the Kings. Valley of the Kings, where the dead are buried. So now it seemed as if nature was not pleased. Why it was not pleased? Because once a person is dead and is laid to rest, he's never to be disturbed. But over here, so they were bringing out the mummy for the scan. So it seemed as if nature did not favor a support. An angry wind stirred up. That means strong winds began to blow, and the sand took the form of dust devils. There were no devils there, but it seemed as if they were there. Dark-bellied clouds had scudded across the desert sky all day. That is dark-bellied clouds. That means thick clouds, grey clouds, heavy clouds had scudded. That is when the wind is blowing very fast. So it had moved fast because of the wind. And now were veiling the stars in casket grey. Casket is actually a small ornamental box which holds valuable objects and all that. It was 6 p.m. on 5th January 2005. So the date was 5th of January 2005 when they were bringing out the mummy for the scan. The world's most famous mummy, that means because there's been so much mystery regarding his death. So that is why there was so much of mystery regarding him. It glided head first into a CT scanner. So the mummy, when the mummy was brought out, the mummy glided head first. It was placed in the scanning machine, and the head went in first into a CT scanner, that is a scanning machine, brought here to probe. It was brought here to probe, that is to investigate, to find out the lingering medical mysteries, the lingering that persisted. That means that did not come to an end because they were not able to find out the reason why and how he died. Medical mysteries of this little mysteries, that is, nothing was certain about him, about his life and about his death. Of this little understood young ruler. This young ruler happened to be King Tut, of course, who died more than 3,300 years ago. So it seemed as if nature did not seem to support or favor what was being done, because he was brought out from the tomb for a CT scan to be taken, so that the mystery that surrounded his death thousands of years ago, that could perhaps be solved now. Thank you.